Alright, so now we're in part 3 for lesson 9, and right now I've already launched this Adobe Media Encoder, and this is the interface for that. And the first thing we want to do is we want to add one of our files, which is going to be our penguin.movie file. So you can either go into File, Add Source. You can also go into this Q area, and there's like a little plus, which you can see it says Add Source. And then you need to find your file, which should be in your folder. And like I said, we want the penguins.move. And we're going to change this into an MP4, which will make it more compatible. So let's open that. And looks like it's already changed to the one we want, because we're going to convert this to an MP4, so for that format we want the H.264 for the format. Okay, and we'll go ahead and select that. Just click on that H.264 and it should pop up our export settings here. And we'll go ahead and look at this it's all set up to crop. And so in order to crop, you can probably do it different ways. You can actually drag your playback button here. You can see this ending part is really long, and it doesn't probably need to be that long. So I'm scrubbing through, and I say, hey, that looks like a good spot. You can hit this button right up here, and you see it cuts it off. And you can also drag this button here. So you want to cut a little bit off at the beginning. And we look at our estimated file size. As you can see, just that little bit I took off a megabyte. So if you have a really large video and you want to cut it down, this is a good way to do it. Okay, so that's cropping. Okay, now we're going to go over here and look at, let's go into these presets over here, our video effects. We want to go into the video and look at the size, which you cannot see very well on mine. Right in here. Sorry, I gotta squeeze it in here in this little section. You can see there's a width and height, and but it's grayed out, which means I can't change it. So if I want to change it, I have to unclick check this box over here. Now it's blue, so now I can change it. Let's go ahead and change that to 432. I'm just going to type it in 432, and our aspect ratio button right over here. Whoops, 432. What did that do? There we go. And that changed this also. That went down to 320. That's because this aspect ratio was on to change, so it keeps the proportions the same. Okay, so now we change the size. This is a summary of our output. And once again, we want to always, at the end, we want to check our estimated file size, especially make sure it's just not too big. Let's see. Oh yeah, we also want to look at the frame rate. Looks okay. Aspect. Sometimes I will kind of look, and if you want to use the maximum render, sometimes you might want it to be less. If you want a good quality, you might want to do that one. And I think that looks good for now. So we'll go ahead and click OK on that. And that will have changed, and that's going to be custom now. Let's go back in there. Now let's say if we wanted to change that custom, or if we want to make a preset, you can say, let's say if you wanted to use these same settings over and over again, we could make a preset, which is right in here. And you write the name of it in here. Like, let's call it penguin settings. Hit OK. And then now it will be called penguin settings. And so if you, let's say you go back to the match source, and or if you come down here, the penguin settings should be on here. Here it is at the very top. And so each time you bring in a new video, you can select that settings, and it should match up all the same. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and we're going to start the queue, and we'll go ahead and encode this. Oh, before we do, let's okay, make sure you're in the right folder where you want to save it. I'm going to call it, let's just change the name just so I know which one I've changed. Maybe I'll call it small, since I made the file size smaller. And we'll do a save. Now let's try it, play. And down here at the bottom, you can see it that encoded it all, and it was pretty quick. Okay, so now if I go into my folder, I should see penguin small, and that's a .mp4. So that's what we're going to use in our Flash file. And we will work on that next. We'll import our videos next. So we'll call that the end of this lesson.